services.
Okay, so today's Easter Sunday.
It is the day of resurrection.
It is the day of resurrection, and we have had a lot of church services this week.
Yes, we have.
It is a long, long week for Episcopalians, but in the best way possible. So for somebody who's new to the Episcopal Church and they're going, okay, wait a minute. So we had Palm Sunday.
Palm Sunday, Jesus goes triumphantly into Jerusalem. That's the beginning of the service. And the end of the service it sort of goes down.
Right.
To that. Because we read the Passion Gospel and how Jesus is betrayed by his friend.
Right. And so, but for the rest of the week, we've been doing a lot of things to almost replicate, I guess, in a way, what that week would have looked like for Jesus. Yeah. So let's talk about what exactly that has looked like for us this week.
So we have Monday, Thursday. So I'm quickly going to go through Monday, Thursday.
And we can make this a little bit longer than usual video. That's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Monday, Thursday is Monday from mandatum, means commandment. And that is where we, in our community here at St. Francis, have a meal. It's very simple. Yeah, it's a very simple meal. And then, as Jesus got up from table and his last meal with his disciples and started washing their feet, and that's where Peter sort of pitched a fit.
But also, just to rewind a bit, we had the service. It was happening as we were eating.
That's correct. We were reading. We read the lessons during our eating, or the gospel, and then we had the foot washing, and people were invited to wash their feet.
All may,
none must.
Some should.
So I wasn't pointing at you. I was just pointing out there, and I'm one of those that some should. So we did that. Then we move into the church. Mm-hmm. And we start with the peace, and the choir sings, a fairly solemn piece. Mm-hmm. And we have communion. And then at the end of communion, any sacrament still remaining goes into, we had a altar of repose set up with plants and stuff like the Garden of Gethsemane.
And that was in a different room. We had it set up in a different room. Mm-hmm.
And then we process all that out, and we come back in. We're just in our cassocks black, and we wash the altar. And
you were using something special.
I had rosemary to wash the altar and water. I invited one of the wardens up, and I invited the altar chair, and because we are all stewards of the altar here. Yeah. So they were representative of the laity. It's not just a clergy thing, even though generally that's what it appears. But we did that, and then the service didn't end there. We did not dismiss.
Right. I noticed that.
The service continues. We leave, but the service is still going on because we go into Good Friday. So Good Friday morning.
Let me rewind you just a little bit. So even before that, people were invited also to come and literally sit all night in vigil.
In the altar of repose.
And that was in our Garden of
Gethsemane.
Right, I can't say that word.
So, and then that morning, at sunrise, the remaining sacrament is consumed entirely. Right. It's everything is consumed at that point.
The bread and the wine.
So the bread and the wine. And so then Good Friday, when Easter was, when Jesus
it's been a long weekend.
Jesus was crucified. We had a Good Friday service, but we still didn't do a dismissal.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because this is one continuously long service called the Triduum. Right. Triduum. Triduum. Monday, Thursday, Good Friday, and then the Great Easter Vigil, Saturday night, in which we actually brought in Easter.
Right. And when you're saying we don't dismiss, just for people who don't know what that means.
So I don't say go in peace to love and serve the Lord, or that it's over, go home. Yeah. You don't have to go home, go. Right. We didn't do that. This is one continuous long service. So we regathered Saturday night. We had a fire in the fire pit. We lit a new Paschal candle, the big tall candle, kindled a new fire, and heard the readings from the Old Testament of what in our
Yeah.
canon.
And it's a long service.
It is a long service. It was what, 2 hours? A little bit over 2 hours.
It was. Let's see. So it was over 2. It was 2.5 hours. So, that is long for Episcopalians.
So, yes. So we move in from the fire pit and around. We move into the church, and that's where we hear the stories. We start with the story of creation, the flood. God's redeeming work in our stories.
Yeah, and all those stories really lead up to this moment.
To the resurrection, which we brought in last night. Easter. The lights went on. We're doing all this in the dark.
Ringing the bells.
Go on, we ring the bells, and we say, Hallelujah, Christ is risen. The people respond, the Christ is risen indeed. Hallelujah.
And we don't say Hallelujah during Lent.
We do not.
This is
the
are bringing
Hallelujahs
back.
are buried during Lent, metaphorically, and sometimes we actually print them on paper, and the kids go out and dig a hole and bury the Hallelujahs. We did not do that this year because the year before we lost them and couldn't find them. But anyway, that's how we roll here. Somebody didn't keep up. I don't know who that somebody was, but anyway. So we brought in Easter last night, and at sunset actually begins the new day. So you can it's like Christmas Eve. Christmas actually starts on Christmas Eve.
Well, and in a lot of ways, something I noticed last night in the service. When the service started by candlelight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had handheld candles.
And the only other time I know of that we do that is Christmas Eve at midnight mass.
So today was an Easter Day service.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because somebody has their face pressed up against them.
They always do. So
God, love you.
Today was Easter service, an Easter Day service. So we started off with a hymn, he is risen, I think, 180. I think that was it.
So.
And we go in, we had a grand procession. We go in and we have the readings. I did a very short homily because on these days, I think the ritual and the liturgy do much more than I would ever do in my little vocabulary.
And our attention span is only so long when the service is longer than usual. I'm kidding.
But it was a great service. We had a good number of people.
Yeah, a lot of people here today.
A lot of people who
were new here today.
A lot of people that hadn't been to church in a while.
Right.
I mean, not just hadn't been to church here, they hadn't been to church in a while, and they came to St. Francis.
Which is an honor.
I feel that we're gentle with people wherever you are on your journey. I don't say stuff as an edict. I present possibilities, and and the people respond with that.
And I'm going a little bit off topic here, but something that I think is important is that, and I see this conversation a lot in social media lately because I'm in that world, but a lot of people will say, I don't have a belief. I don't have a belief. I don't know that I believe. I don't, but I have an interest in church and coming. And I feel like it's important for people to know.
If you're already certain, you don't need faith. Right? I mean, even Paul, which I don't quote a whole lot, but even the Apostle Paul says that. So belief is a journey, and belief is an action. That's the key also. If belief is an action, and will want you to love your neighbor and show mercy and compassion to those in need.
Yeah. And that was really the key part of your sermon today.
Because I think that the resurrection is a day of hope. It is a day of becoming something new, a new creation. And every day we should wake up as a new person. That's what we strive to do. Now, I'll admit, I generally wake up as the same old crabby person I was yesterday. But at least it's on my mind.
Right.
I try.
You're at least trying.
We strive.
And I would say, even for me, it took me, I could say a good solid 40 years of my life to get to a point where I was like, wow, I really feel solid in my convictions. Yeah. I don't expect it to be that way permanently. I'm sure there will be plenty of times where I am wavering.
Events in our lives cause us to ebb and flow in how we respond or not respond to the divine.
Right.
And so, but yeah, I know I yelled at the kids last night, but I asked for forgiveness, and I think they forgave. After they quit laughing, I think they gave me forgiveness. So
they did.
And that's what we're on this journey of forgiveness and forgiving.
Well, and working with the youth is a whole other.
Tell me about it. I've worked with them for now, 40 years almost. And I'm getting too old for this. So.
Well, if you are somebody who is searching on your journey, or if you just have a curiosity, we would love to have you. We would be honored to have you. And don't be intimidated by the smells and the bells and the ritual. The ritual is meant for all of us to partake in this together. It's a way to help create community.
So did you see last night I was trying to put incense into the thurible, which is the incense pot on the chain that one of the acolytes had. We could not get the thing open. It was stuck. The heat had stuck so I had to rush off stage basically and take my hands, hoping I wouldn't put blisters on them, and open it up and brought them back out. So this morning we learned something. Does it open?
And sometimes ritual doesn't go the way we think it's gonna go. But we just roll with it.
We don't look for perfection.
No.
We look for participation.
Yes.
That's really what we're looking for.
So come, we'd love to have you.